Hey, what's up traders? Today in this video we're going to talk about the watch list and the trigger levels and how we could have taken intraday entries based off of the trigger levels and certain points within the stock chart. So the first one we're talking about is AMZN. This was a long over 33.20. So this has been forming an ascending triangle on the daily chart time frame. I'm currently on the 1 day, 1 minute chart time frame. We were looking for the breakout move over 33.20. That was a previous resistance point. So the first thing we're going to do is just draw a line there. Now we don't trade in the first 5 minutes. Reason being because a lot of fake outs can happen. So we're going to flip to the 5 minute chart time frame. What we want to see on the 5 minute chart is this green candle closing over the trigger. Once you get that confirmation, then you can look at start taking an entry, right? So I'm going to move to the 1 minute chart time frame because it's easier to talk about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles, right? Here's our 5 minute candle closing on the above the trigger level right around 33.30, and this was also a dip. That is where I took my very first entry. I mentioned this in chat right at 6:35 a.m. Pacific time, so perfect dip entry there, ticker AMZN, and a new high of day. That was at 6:35, right after the first 5 minute candle was formed. Here's your dip entry that I was talking about. And this moved up top side, broke 33.50, which is a natural, it's a whole number that's going to always act as a natural area of support or resistance within the market. So once we broke above that price point, I sold at the top here for, I think, 32% I took on that trade. Once that happened, I saw that this was kind of forming a bull flag formation, right? And we had a lot of buying wicks at the bottom of these candles. So 33.50 was validating as a support. Once we got our break over the downward trend line here and the move back up to test the high of day, that's where I took a second entry for this pop move up to the top side. So entry 1 was at the first 5 minute candle close right here on this candle. If you didn't catch the bottom, that's fine. Entry 2 was on the dip test of 33.50 as a support, and there was a third entry here. So when this pulled back, you could have possibly taken the entry close to 33.20. We talk about these trigger levels acting as a support. So, it was previously a resistance. It should validate as a new support. This entry could have been taken, but I didn't like these sell candles that were occurring. So at this point, I don't think I would have taken any position, and we didn't have any type of rally to develop a downward trend line on. So when I talk about that downward trend line, what you do is on a downtrend, draw a trend line across the tops of the candles. Once you get the break above the trend line here, you likely have a reversal. So entry 3 for this ticker could have been taken in 2 different places. The first position would have been here at 3,300. So just like 33.50, 3,300 is also a whole number, right? And we know that those numbers usually will act as an area of support or resistance. Now, if you take a position here, you're not getting that extra confirmation. So it's a little risky, but you get more profit. So what I'm talking about is you get that profit from 3,300 up to about 33.20, whereas, and your stop loss will be placed right below 3,300, but you're risking that you don't know that it's going to bounce right there, right? The safer entry would have been here at the break over the trend line, the confirmation bounce off of 3,300, and the cross back over the original trigger level at 33.20. So you could have caught that for a nice scalp move up. You could have also possibly taken a dip entry here for a scalp move up. Multiple different ways you could have taken positions here. So entry 1 was at this dip. Entry 2, bull flag breakout. Possible entry 3 here, although I wouldn't have probably taken that. Entry 3 off of the 3,000 bounce. Entry 4 off of the 33.20 confirmation trend line break and bounce. And entry 5 here again off of the 33.20 mark. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is going to be ticker BABA. BABA was a long over 274. All right, so BABA, BABA. It was a choppy chart. So the only real move that I see is whenever this started to curl here and then confirm a new high of day. So when you got that break of high of day, you got that break over the trigger level, that would have been the only entry that I probably would have taken on this ticker for today. If I go to the 5-minute chart time frame, you see it happened very fast too. So it's hard to consider this a win because this 5-minute candle, if you're waiting for that to close, you're missing the play, because if you took the entry here, you may not have gotten that pop move back up. So let's go back to the 1-minute chart and kind of count that out. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 minutes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you would have been entering here for that move back up. It's not a good entry spot, right? You would have kind of had to use the 1-minute chart time frame to catch this move as it was happening. But this dip entry right here was possible. So again, it pulled back to the trigger and kind of bounced up to the top side. If you didn't catch that move, we have to go back to the 5-minute chart time frame and look at the break of the downward trend line. This method is so useful, guys. It's so useful for identifying intraday trend changes. So here's our trigger at 274. Remember, it's a long over 274. We could have stayed patient on the play, right? Broke out, pulled back, never validated it as a support, kind of bouncing around. And then at this price point here, you get your break over the trigger, and that would have been playable from 274 up to 276. Definitely some profits could have been taken off of that price point there. Now it's currently trading at 276, so this is still playable, guys, over the high of day here. We're going to see if this can break over and continue the run up. But your third entry would have been right here around 274. Again, a break of the resistance, a break of this purple line. That's VWAP. Understand that VWAP is it's only useful for that particular day, and it gets more useful as time goes on throughout the day. So you see it's acting clearly as a resistance here. 274 we already know is a resistance. Here's your break over, there's your volume pop up and over, here's your move up to 276 once again. So entry one, I don't know that I would have taken it on this first 5-minute candle because it pushed up so much. I kind of would have waited to validate this 274 as a support. Because it broke down, it never validated that for us, so I would have waited for this break back over the downward trend line. Here's your entry one up to 276. There's your break over 274 again. Entry two up to 276. Two different ways you could have played that ticker. The third one is going to be ticker Facebook. This was a long over 271. Okay, so 271, it opened above 271, immediately went green. We don't trade in the first 5 minutes. We don't chase the moves up. So because this pushed up so much, I don't see an area here where, we didn't get a sizable pullback until it kind of pushed all the way back up here. So you could have taken the entry off of this price point right at around 275 when it pulled back. I don't know personally that I would have trusted that move. I think I even told the team, stay patient on the play, wait for it to pull back to the trigger, because everything at this time kind of looked like it was selling off, right? So here's your entry one, pull back pretty close to 271, right? So you could have taken a scalp move from 272 up to 274. The best entry though, the ideal entry is that perfect bounce right here at 271 for the move up. So entry one for me would have been here up to 274. We know that's an old resistance, right? We see VWAP is right there. That's going to be your profit target area. Entry two, again, wait for that pullback to 271. Here's your bounce right there. And then, could have looked at scalping this back up to the top side. So entry one, entry two, definitely possible. I like entry one a lot better because the momentum was still there. Entry two, we're kind of getting closer to that lull period, right around 7:40, 8 o'clock Pacific time. The market kind of starts to slow down unless it's a super hot day. From here though, I don't see another entry, right? So this is kind of dying off. Maybe if it gets back over 274, we can look to play it again. But it's got to hold 268 as a support. So 2 entries here for Facebook. I know this first 5-minute candle popped up, but guys, we don't chase the moves. We don't chase this up. If you did chase it up, that's fine. just be careful because you won't always get that extra pop move up. In this case you did, but it doesn't always happen like that. So entry 1 for me would have been on this pullback all the way down to 271, and then that perfect bounce right there up to 274. You have to be ready to assume the risk. I know that, you know, if you're waiting for extra confirmation, if you're waiting for this candle to form, look at how many you're missing out on. $2 of profit right there to the top side. So part of trading, guys, is you want to take entries. You're always going to have to assume risk, right? And so you want to take entries at the spot where you can assume the least amount of risk. For me, in this case, it's going to be right where it should bounce, right where we know that previous resistance is at, that 271 mark, right off the freaking watch list, guys. I give these levels to you. Use them, okay? 271 serves as your entry point. Place a tight stop right below. You know, if it breaks below 271, you lose the trade. You take a paper cut loss. It didn't work out. Oh well, right? The risk to reward is here though, because this thing had popped down 2% already, right? And that happened pretty quick. So a 2% drop, it's likely going to have a bounce, especially understanding that 271 is support. There's your move up. Same with Amazon. Because this came down so much so quickly, 3,000 is the whole number, right? We knew that that's going to likely be an area of support. That's 2.36%. That's a big percentage for a ticker that costs this much. So that's it, guys. That's all that I have. Microsoft was along over 216. I'll show you that chart real quick. Because I didn't give a short trigger, this never was validated, right? So 216 was never hit. The trigger on the 5-minute chart, it opened up below and kind of like bounced around and went red. This wasn't tradable. We're looking for the break over the resistance. So 216 is still relevant. We're just going to wait for it to get closer to that price point before we put it back on the watch list. So make sure you keep your alerts set there. Thanks, guys. I hope the video has helped you out. If it has, please like, please subscribe, leave a comment down below if you want me to do more of these videos. Give me some feedback on things that you want to see, maybe video ideas. I'm here to help you guys out. As always, I'll see you all in chat. Thanks.